Married male, cheated on by so, and now in process of reconciliation. It occurred to me that I have turned into someone who alternates between wallowing in self-pity and indulging in self-righteous indignation. That's not who I want to be. All it does is make me miserable. My life experience has taught me that you can't dictate someone else's actions or feelings. You can merely act on your own in a way that does minimal harm. If that sounds like an impossible goal, it actually isn't. I used to get tremendously affected by bad drivers earlier. Then I realized all that raging only puts myself in danger and my health at risk. So now I am not that affected anymore. I focus on driving safely, defensively, and minimize the chance of confrontation or incident. I bring a lot of expectations to my relationship, both for myself and my so. And I realize now the burden of those expectations can cause issues. If anything, the affair taught me to look inwards at myself a lot more. I always prided myself on being a loyal husband, a good father, a provider for the family. But now I realize that probably isn't enough. People have dreams, aspirations, hidden desires. They need to be validated by those they love. They need to feel not judged. Looking at it from my SO's point of view, her husband, me, made some life choices that took him away, albeit temporarily, from her. He left her to mind the household and manage the growing kids while he was away on work a lot and for extended periods of time. Perhaps if he'd asked her, she'd have told him that what they had was enough. There was no need for a bigger house, and she would manage fine with her trusty beat-up car a little longer. After all, he did insist on sending it for a proper servicing once a year. Perhaps she was happier with him close to her, sharing in the household duties, being a proper dad instead of her having to double up as both parents. Perhaps she thought I had my share of fun on the road, or that the distance was making us distant emotionally as well. Or it could be that she had some plans for herself. Turning 40 isn't easy, and it often brings a renewed focus on career, as you start to worry whether what you're doing is merely a means of making money or something deeper and more meaningful. It's happened with me as well. She stood by me resolutely while I worked out my own career-related stuff a few years earlier. Perhaps she expected the same from me and felt my attitude to her work was dismissive. Maybe we didn't share the same ideas of what constituted loyalty. Maybe she thought it was okay in my eyes for her to seek emotional support while I was not available. It seemed to come as a shock to her when I told her, after finding out, that the fact that she slept with the AP didn't hurt as much as the fact that she told him and others that she loved him. A lot of her friends probably have work spouses, and their husbands are probably aware of it. Maybe I am the exception here. Why did the emotional part of the affair hurt me so much, though? Was it because I felt insecure that we no longer had what we once shared? Was it an assumption I made that, having survived and thrived through a decade and a half of marriage, with all its ups and downs, a temporary physical separation would not matter, that our emotional bonding would tide us through? I haven't confided in too many people about the affair, but those that I did talk to were unequivocal that it was her fault. This includes my so as well, who blames herself squarely for the affair and its aftermath. We are reconciling solely because it was my choice to do so. After she confessed unreservedly, after being caught out, and begged me to take her back. So there's really no reason to turn the spotlight on myself, to ask these soul-searching questions on whether I was, in fact, as good a husband as I imagine myself to be. But it's really also the only way to move on. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I was responsible for the affair. That burden is hers, and she knows it. But things don't happen for one reason alone. And if I can come out of this a better human being, it might be just the thing that prevents this sort of stuff happening again. Because, believe me, it changes everything in a way that can never be fully remedied. And I don't want to go through that ever again. Has anyone gone through something similar? Summary. My wife of then 15 years cheated on me with her boss 5 years ago and repeatedly denied it till confronted with incontrovertible evidence and a threat to divorce. We stayed together primarily because I didn't want a divorce, which would be hard on the family. I was torn up about it and posted here pondering my own role in the affair having taken place. Reddit stepped up and assured me it wasn't so. I read every reply on that thread, and it really helped me largely relieve myself of the burden of feeling I had somehow precipitated the affair by my own actions, be it by being away on work for long periods or not paying enough attention or needs, etc. 5 years down, we are still together. That might be perplexing to some, but let me answer some questions you may have. Did I forgive her? Yes. It took a while and several long, difficult conversations for her to realize that I desperately needed to know why it happened. She took full responsibility for the affair and said that hurting me the way she did was the worst mistake she has ever made in her life and something that would haunt her forever. Did she stray again? There were several Redditors who reminded me of the old adage, once a cheater, always a cheater. But she did all the right things, quit that job, broke of all ties with AP, apologized repeatedly for what she did to me and the family. Do I trust her? Well, yes and no. I go through her texts and have her location tracked, mutually, but as time passed, found myself doing so less and less. There haven't been any red flags. How did we repair the relationship? I mentioned in the old post that we were good at doing projects together. Managing COVID was a big one. Our kids lost 2 grandparents in 2 years and almost a third. We moved into a bigger place, our dream home, and that took up a lot of energy and attention. Got a dog, which has just been an amazing and unique parenting experience. Kids are older now. One has started college. We continue to travel for pleasure occasionally, a shared passion. Another thing I realized was the need to have a life outside of us, so I put together a band and we perform a few gigs a year. I took control of my career and landed a better and less stressful job. Encouraged her to pursue her home-based business and eventually to land a job with a startup in a different field from where she was earlier. We spend time together and talk about stuff that's bothering us. We do fight on occasion, but focus on resolving things rather than let them simmer. What about the enablers? I had mentioned she has a few friends who were aware of and even actively encouraged her to pursue the affair despite being close to me as well. For a while after moving on, I voiced my discontent that these people were still in my life, but her stand was that she alone was responsible for the affair and not them. I finally realized that all I needed to do was to cut them out of my own life and not bother about anything else. I systematically went about it, and am now LC/NC with that bunch. Nothing dramatic, just quietly cut the cord. She is still friends with them, but she knows how I feel, so meets them only on occasion, and is much more transactional with them. What about the enablers? I had mentioned she has a few friends who were aware of and even actively encouraged her to pursue the affair despite being close to me as well. For a while after moving on, I voiced my discontent that these people were still in my life, but her stand was that she alone was responsible for the affair and not them. I finally realized that all I needed to do was to cut them out of my own life and not bother about anything else. I systematically went about it, and am now LC/NC with that bunch. Nothing dramatic, just quietly cut the cord. She is still friends with them, but she knows how I feel, so meets them only on occasion, and is much more transactional with them. How am I now? I have to say that despite having some of the emotions come up every now and then, by and large I am happy. My family and career keep me busy and fulfilled. My music keeps me sane. I have actively dialed down the drama in my life, a big contributor being no longer close to those enabler friends. I've consciously pursued my own interests and am a bit more assertive about my own needs. I am attentive to hers and try not to argue or nitpick, which have been integral to my nature for a long time. So things go on, and I guess 5 years is good enough to call myself an affair survivor. We celebrated our 20th anniversary, and it was wonderful. Thanks again for listening and all those helpful comments from way back. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have been able to get back on my feet had it not been for all of you.